Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fantasy in Frames Best Ball Show. Guys, I'm your host, Stacy Perez. I'm here tonight with Stephanie Miller. We are going to be doing a Puppy 2 draft for you tonight. We're going to be walking you through our process and all of our picks. Guys, let's start drafting. Let's do it. Hey there, everybody. Make sure that you have gone over and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. If you are not subscribing already, make sure to follow us everywhere on social media. Guys, make sure that if you want to be drafting with us, you get alerts of when we're going to be drafting and what drafts we're going to be doing. So make sure you're following us everywhere at fantasyandframes.com, all over our social media. Steph, how are you doing tonight? How's your week been so far?
I'm doing great. It's been, it's almost Friday, so
Exactly.
that's always a good thing.
Almost Friday. Thank goodness. All right, guys. So we are doing a puppy tonight. We are in the draft. If you guys, Steph, you want to go ahead and jump on in there and get us all on the same page here.
Oh, you are fast. Oh, and it's instant fill. It's already starting. What did we get?
We're
the 1-4.
Yeah, we're the 4. We're the 4 spot tonight, guys. Make sure also take a look at our banner down here at the bottom. Underdog Fantasy, 100% match up to $100 when using our promo code, which is frames. That's going to be scrolling down there at the bottom. So make sure to jump on that if you haven't done Underdog yet. I'm going to make sure you get that $100 match for you. All right. Yeah, this filled super fast tonight. These puppies, I think everybody is wanting to get into these and do them. Steph, how long do you think it'll be before they fill up?
I have no idea. I haven't had a chance to look at this one, but usually not very long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have no idea. I didn't have a chance to look and see how close this one was to filling. And working all week, I don't get to do quite as many as I like. On the weekends is when I can really hit them. So
yeah.
Do you want this first pick or you want me to take it?
I'll go ahead and take this one. We've got Jefferson and Chase off the board first off the bat. That's no big surprise. Although I did do one of these puppies earlier this week where Cooper Kupp went first. And I got to tell you, I had the 3rd spot and it just like made my day. I'm going to take Tyreek Hill here.
Okay.
There we go. Tyreek Hill is our 4th receiver off the board. Well, 3rd receiver off the board, 4th person off the board completely. Jamie says, hey, everybody in the chat. Guys, make sure if you are in the chat, if you're watching live, please make sure to jump in and chat with us, say hello, throw us some questions if you've got them. We'd love to see some interaction with you guys tonight. It looks like we've got quite a few of the badges up in this draft, huh? We're going to have some tough competition.
We have a few, not too many. I was looking. I don't really think I recognize too many of the names here, but you never know.
Yeah.
I've seen it. They have been a little bit softer lately. It seems like maybe there's some newer people that have been coming in the last few puppies I've gotten some really good value a few places that fell. So we'll see. But okay, that's a little earlier because Bijan has actually been dropping a little bit. Let's see.
He has been. That's what I mean. I don't know what's gotten into me this week, but I've probably done about 4 or 5 puppies this week.
Well, I guess 9th is about right. But
and I've noticed that though. And you know what else I've noticed? I've noticed that the quarterbacks are dropping too. So I'm curious to see where they go in this draft. But I was able to get Mahomes in the 3rd today in a draft that I did.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick is jumping in, says, hey ladies, who are some of your most exposed players? Nick,
before I answer that, sorry, I was going to say, yeah, they're firmly now in the 3rd. A lot of the quarterbacks are, and we predicted this. I mean, coming in, we said, the 2nd was probably too high, and the 3rd is about where they would, I think, settle. And we got a few that still are going even later than that. If you look at, Fields and Burrow and stuff. So, I think it gives you a chance. It's a lot more palatable there than when they were going in that high 2nd, which makes it where I'm not taking. Now you can tell us your most exposed player. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. So my most exposed player, like famously, at this point is Marvin Mims, who I have to tell you though, at one point earlier this week, he was 41% for me. And he's actually dropped down to about 37%. I've missed him in a couple of my drafts this week that I've done. But yeah, Steph, who are your well, you're going to be drafting here in just a second. You know what? We'll have to pull up who are some of our other exposed players. I've got a ton of AJ Brown. I don't have the percentage though right off the top of my head. Since we're in the underdog draft right now, I can't necessarily jump out and check, but that's a great question, Nick. But I know for sure I've got AJ Brown up there. I've got a lot of him. I'm trying to look through the queue real quick to pull out some other guys that I've got a ton of. One that's kind of random and even more so random than Marvin Mims is Charlie Jones from the Bengals. He was one of my favorite rookies. And so I've kind of been tagging him onto some of those in the very, very late one of the last picks.
Okay, I might regret this.
A little bit of correlation there with our week 17 stuff if I'm trying to make that happen. All right, Steph. So Steph took Jonathan Taylor. Okay.
Yeah, which is unusual for me, but
No.
it just seemed that he was falling a little bit. So there now our week 17 correlation, we can get maybe the snack, and I probably messed it up our chances, but we should try.
Who is let me hang on. I've got my sheet up real here. I'm trying so hard. I've got most of it memorized, but not quite all of it.
I don't want to tip off if anyone's in the draft, but it's towards the beginning of the alphabet, not
Yeah. No. I know exactly where you're headed.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that'll be a really interesting build if we can make this happen.
Yeah, it would have been easier if I didn't go for the value.
But you know what? That's okay, right?
It's possible though.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it quite often. I've gotten this combination a few times lately that sometimes falls. So we'll see. Like we talked about, the quarterbacks are going a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
We see that some of these running backs are staying.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. So I don't know. So I assume you heard the news that about
Real
Minnesota.
Quick. Hang on, real quick before we get to that. I'm about to make our week 17 correlation happen. There you go.
All right.
Is that who you were thinking of?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just checking. I thought that's the only one I think she's thinking of.
Well, they only played one week 17 game.
Yeah. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's it. I don't think she's talking about Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman. So
not quite this early.
Not that early. Oh, Nick loves Mims value. Nick, same here. And I'm so glad where he's going and able to kind of snatch him where we're getting him. I still don't understand why he's not going higher, but that works in my favor all the time. So as long as we keep it that way. That's true. It depends on the draft. But though I've seen it kind of vary, but not too much, honestly. Maybe a round or two, but nothing drastic.
People that are like kind of in the circle of, degenerates tend to like it. So if you're in one of those drafts and other people know that they're going to take in, people will reach a little bit. But other than that, if you're in a draft with me, you have to reach to get in, probably.
Yeah.
I will take it before you.
We say degenerate in a loving way because that describes us as well. Because guys, if you are watching the show, you are drafting with us in June, you are part of that group too. So
yes, it's definitely lovingly, and I include myself. I am proudly myself exactly. Degenerate here. So well, I think we know what I'm trying to do, me and Stacy do for this next pick. Never mind. So we will go to another plan. So now I'm scheming a little bit in my head.
These last three teams here are sucking up all the wide receivers out of this space.
That's a little early.
For which one?
I feel like it is.
For who you're thinking of, or who?
No, just these receivers a little bit. It's a few picks early. They usually go. Not super early, but a couple. because if you look, Hopkins has got the earlier ADP, and ETN and Najee. I mean, there's still some guys on the board here.
Yeah, I was gonna say it
And
seems like
Keenan doesn't usually go before Mike and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I mean, it depends. If you're going for a stack or something, I mean, reaching a few picks is okay. We'll just have to see what those teams are doing exactly.
Well, and like with number 5 right after us, right? Them taking Mahomes with that Kelsey stack, Mahomes wouldn't have come back to him even in the 3rd round there, I doubt. So, if you want to maybe, but I don't know if I'm him and that's what I want to do, I don't know that I'm taking that risk. Just safer to go ahead and take him then that spot. If that's in my mind, if that's what I'm saying, I want my build to be I want to stack these 2 players, then go get your guys.
I mean, that's one of those things you kind of weigh. It's like, how far do you want to push it to get the value and to try to get unique? Because, then if somebody does fall, but, because like with Mahomes, I might go, okay, I could also get Burrow if I didn't, to get the correlation to give me an out. So it kind of depends how many outs you have with something. But I tend to push things probably further than I should sometimes. So,
Well, when you do these, you kind of know where people are going to go, at least for the most part.
And really, that value, but I think we need wide receiver. I don't want to take another detour because we've already taken 2 to get a running back and a tight end, even though there is a falling value there.
That is who I hoped you were going to take right there in that spot. He's one of my favorite players. Albert in the chat. Good evening, Albert. What is up? Nick says Lockett got your guy season. Yeah, with Lockett. Absolutely. I think he gets so pushed down in the drafts. Nobody thinks he's going to do anything. And then every year he seems to, have a decent season. All right, guys. So Steph, I'm going to let you take control while I think about who we're going to pick here.
All right. Well, Lockett is one of, without looking, my highest exposure players. I feel like him and Godwin fall every draft to me. I mean, they're still probably 2 of the really best values at wide receiver. I mean, now the range we're in is a little bit flat, I feel like. But, I don't know. How do you feel about Kirk? Because he's always a tough one for me. Wow.
I was going to say, why don't you go ahead and talk about
let's clear right. Okay, so Madison went, but that's about where I predicted him to end up. I didn't know he'd get there that fast. And I'm trying to see, but it's not so much that spot surprises me, but going before some guys that are on the board, Walker, Mixon, you're on the clock. Okay?
Oh, I know.
Okay, just making sure. Sometimes sometimes we forget.
That's right.
Both of us. But yeah, so but I did expect him probably to go close to where Dobbins is going. So yeah, the 4 or 5 turn.
So he's
depends on if you think he's going to get all the volume or not, or how much they're going to give to some of those late guys, or if they end up bringing in another veteran. I mean, we don't know yet what's going to happen. But
yeah, we really don't. I mean, there's a possibility they still could sign somebody, and even if they don't, and I, this was one question that we kind of talked about a little bit last night on Dynasty 365. Is he a good running back or is he just a good backup in a great situation?
I think a lot of it is the system. I don't know that he's that great, but I mean,
right.
But we don't really need that. Volume is the driver in this. We're not running the football team.
Exactly.
And them having. But I was also going to say in this contest, I don't like taking guys that rise a lot because this one's been open for a little while and people have been taking Madison pretty late. I mean, excuse me. Yeah, a lot later than now. So I wouldn't necessarily want to jump on him. You're going to get really bad closing line value doing that, especially since this contest isn't going to keep going on. So we're not going to get as much ripples of rising and falling with news, because as soon as, we hear Ty Chandler is going to be getting a sizable role, then Madison might drop again. We don't know. It doesn't take much for those things to kind of happen. But now in this draft, when people were getting him a couple rounds later, you're going to have a weaker team overall if you do that kind of 2v2 type thing of who you could have had at that spot. People are going to have a stronger player and Madison later instead of now you had to pass up those guys.
Yeah, Nick wants to know how long before they add another running back. That's a great question. Who knows what they're going to be doing there? And says it feels, kind of feels like they're not rolling into that backfield with that backfield into the season. Yeah, I'd be really curious to see how they handle that now that they have actually done something with Cook.
No, I did like McBride. He's not. He can run between the tackles. I mean, he's a pretty talented guy. He's somebody I was high on coming into the draft. I liked him. So it's possible. We don't know. They gave Madison, I think, a pretty good contract too. I don't think it was nothing. I don't remember exactly. So they could, but I definitely also think that it could be a spot that one of those undrafted veterans ends up.
Yeah,
Maybe Lenny or Hunt or somebody, Zeke, who knows? Somebody go there for cheap.
Man, again with these running or the receivers just going. My goodness, look at Team 12 over here.
So we've already we missed out on our elites, and okay, that Lawrence went. So we have a lot of options for late stacks. So I don't mind maybe pushing this one a little bit and going 3 late build or 2 late build, depending on who we get. But just kind of looking here, we have several options for mid to late round guys that would be really strong. We can kind of see what falls to us and not force it. So, and I was not looking enough ahead.
So what I did when we took McLaurin and then again with Ayuk there, they play each other in week 17. So that's kind of a stack I've been doing in a few of mine. Because I like McLaurin. I've gotten Dotson at a good value. I like him as well. And then the same with Ayuk. I mean, he's probably
no, what did I oh my goodness.
Uh-oh. Did you not mean I don't Pitts is fine.
I did not mean to click that.
Well, that's okay. We can work with that.
We have double. Okay, bully tight end is not a strategy people that
hey,
employ most of the time.
We're gonna make it work. We'll make it work.
Oh my goodness.
If anything, right? How many builds are gonna have Andrews and Pitts, right? We're just gonna think about the positive things. We're gonna look at the silver lining there. Exactly, Nick, bully tight end. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. It's a unique build. And it's going to be very special. That's totally.
No, we do not need any more tight ends. We're done at tight ends.
We're done. So we're done.
So we can do those 3 late round quarterbacks because, like you said, we got, or at least a 2. But we do have a good late option because
we scroll up
that correlation. Sorry,
that's okay. That's all right. Can we scroll up just a tiny bit on the draft board? Thank you, Gator. All right, guys, Gator in the back, shout out, man in that board for us. Appreciate you there. All right, so I'm taking a look here. Given the fact that the end of the draft is snatching up all of the wide receivers, Steph, I think maybe we should take another receiver here just to make sure that we get some good guys that we are looking at. I mean, we've got Jonathan Taylor. We could go with somebody, a running back here, but I don't know. I mean,
So right now, this is where you want to take your receivers. If you see, this is kind of the sweet spot for receivers. Round 8 through 10, there's some really good running backs, and that's kind of where receivers start to die off.
Exactly. So this is who I'm going to go with right here. Mr. Tony. Mr. Tony. I do love Dotson, but we already have McLaurin, so I don't know that I need to do that kind of stack that way. But I like Kadarius Toney a lot in this spot, especially that week 17 against Cincinnati. I think that's going to be a shootout. Gator wants to know, how much do you look at the regular season compared to the playoffs? Honestly, I've probably been looking more at the playoffs lately rather than regular season. And, just kind of keeping in mind that, week 15, 16, 17, as far as, when I'm kind of building my players and my team. Steph, what about you? I mean, are you doing any more regular season or is it more so focused just on the playoffs?
I'm sorry. I missed the last 5 minutes because my Siri came on and started answering and not letting me hear anything and talking to me and telling me it didn't. Oh, that was fun. Sorry. So regular season versus playoffs?
Yes. Yeah.
So, I'm always, like I said, I'm playing to win these contests because there's no way to really help your regular season that much aside from, things like stacking, which already are also help in the playoffs. Having ADP value is going to be, and closing line value has been shown to be the best thing to help advance, which, we're kind of doing anyways. So I really want to still optimize by doing those team stacks and things I can control, other things that help you have a supercharged team or having those live players, which that's kind of, luck of who gets hurt in preseason and playing the game and stuff like that. You can't. So there's only so many things we can do and levers to pull. So I always try to, optimize as much for those playoff weeks where the money's at as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, in these contests, we talked about it's so top heavy. It's actually harder to get to the finals this year. And then once you're in there, there's even more because there's more money up top, but they didn't increase the total amount of money in there in the pool. So now they're giving somebody an extra $1 million that's getting the first, but they didn't actually put more money into that part.
Right.
So it's actually even more of a top heavy contest. So it's more important to try to finish as high as you can to actually get that money. If there was more stuff you could necessarily do to ensure, your advance rate, but like I said, there's not really that much different.
Yeah. I think it's really just, you're definitely, like you said, you're playing to kind of win the playoffs once you get there. So build your team like you're going to win the playoffs and then make sure to correlate like you've got the more players going in those weeks, the better.
All right. So now we're coming up in the A. So if you see, now you can kind of see what I was talking about. These wide receivers are not very,
Not great.
not great. And they're gone a little earlier. So, because I was hoping that we could have gotten a fifth at this spot, but I am not a fan of really Michael Thomas, and I'm not going to go jump to Juju. But you know what? We have those two tight ends, so one of them is going to be in one of our flex spots since we drafted them so nice and highly. And this is a good spot to start looking at a running back again, I think. Or,
I've got one in mind.
Yeah. I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to do something else.
Let's do it.
Because it works out. It's at ADP. Someone took Tua from us. So we are going to go.
Ooh.
We have Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
And we don't really need another. Probably we don't have to overstack this necessarily, but
exactly. Hey, so Jamie's got a question in the chat. Since I'm going to be drafting on the turn here, I'm going to let you kick that off. Jamie wants to know, can you explain the benefits of week 17 correlations and how it helps to win? Also, does it help in non-tournaments like in 12-team leagues, like a self-contained league, a little bit different format, different, few differences there. Oh gosh, darn it, number 2.
Okay, so here we go. So what it is you got to think of if you play DFS and you're playing, I mean, our finals is close to, it's like a 475 person final. So that's, that's a smallish midfield DFS tournament type field. So when you game stack, if you've ever played, if you're going in on a game, that's your best way to hit the ceiling on those players to score the most points. So you're playing, you want to bet on a game to go off, to score a lot of points. And when you do stuff like that, there's less things you have to get right. If you kind of just hit on the right game and get enough players that are playing that game, it's going to bounce off each other. And that's really what's going to help you to win that type of contest. Now, I like stacking in a little bit smaller. So even, you can game stack. I mean, now if your finals aren't in week 17, you don't have to necessarily game stack for that. You're making this pick, right? Okay. Just double checking. Love it. You don't have to necessarily like game stack week 17 if that's not like when your finals, but games, if you do look at when your playoffs are, or in general, kind of building game stacks, sure, that's an optimal strategy. But also, stacking in general kind of just helps you get less things right. So you can bet on an offense, you can take, especially like offenses with cheaper players, you can take more of them without really giving up a whole lot. Then if you're kind of just directionally right, like, okay, this team did good, hopefully somewhere in the season, just bouncing off too, you can get guys that will go off at different times, even if they all don't go off in that week 17 game. But it'll give you more options and more things. If that game's high scoring, then you'll have somebody that scores the touchdowns.
Exactly. You'll have somebody on your team getting points for you at the last minute when you're going to need those points to secure your championship.
But there has been some. Leone in his Best Ball Manifesto did some research and put some numbers, and it was close to, I think, a 50% chance of increasing your chances to win a tournament of that size by game stacking. I mean, it's a sizable amount. Like, you should be doing, especially with your quarterbacks. So, like, you don't have to game stack every little thing. You have many correlations, but as much as possible, you want your quarterback to be stacked with one of their pass catchers. You could do a running back like we did in this one, especially with maybe a running quarterback, and then somebody from the opposite team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And, as far as Jamie's question about non-tournaments, yeah, I mean, like what Nick just said here in the chat, it's not really all that important for home leagues. And, Nick, I'm right there with you, with your self-contained leagues and, you're just playing in, just those 12 people, you've only got to beat 11 other teams, right? I don't think necessarily putting that much effort and thought into that correlation is necessary, but it doesn't hurt, right? And, of course, you're going to come down to, at the very end, you want your players, especially if, give yourself every chance you can to succeed and to get as many points as possible. So I think if you can do it, that's great, and make that happen. But I wouldn't necessarily put the thought process that we're going to be putting into our correlations with these tournaments into those self-contained leagues. Yeah, Nick, you're right. You can win with 110 points in those. Exactly. So we are coming on the turn. Yep. And now, gosh darn it, the end of this turn here, or this draft, these two here at the end are just like, they're going all the receivers and now they're going all the running backs.
Well, I mean, that's how I usually draft. They're doing it right. I mean, that's the pocket. Like I said, I said there was tons of running backs you really like that are still strong in 8 to 10. I mean, that's why zero running back works so well, because if we look at some of these guys, Harris, I think, could have a really big role. I was looking at Penny, Harris, and Gibson. So thanks people that we're drafting with. But Brian Robinson could be the starting running back on his team. Gibson, we like him, I think, more than the coaches, unfortunately, but I still like both of those guys at their ADP and think their values. But there's a lot of guys that could technically even be a starter that are still going sometimes in this range. I mean, you can really get some good value and strong teams still running back this year late. I've had teams I've started in round 9, 10 at running back and pushed it back. Yeah, I see. Don't worry, I got this time.
Yeah. So speaking of, like the value and everything, I wanted to bring up with Gibson, right? I mean, obviously Robinson kind of that starter. Oh, yeah.
I have a quick question.
Let's do it.
Should we risk it with A-Chain?
I would. He's the top of my queue, so I would say yes.
I know, but now I'm worried if our friend signs there.
But he's such a different player than Dalvin Cook. He's such a different player. I think they would have two different, let's say the worst happens, right? Because in my mind, Dalvin Cook going to Miami is literally the worst happening. So if the worst happens and he goes, I know, Stephanie, it's going to Dallas for you. But if he goes,
I'm with you on both.
So much invested into that backfield there. So I'm taking a look right now. So we have got, just so everybody's aware, we've got 4 receivers here.
I think you should we should double up on our KC bet.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well.
Cheap. We don't need their quarterback. We know that one of those guys is going to score. We just don't know who.
Oh, we want Sky Moore, right? Is that who you're talking about, Sky?
Either one. There's 2 of them. Take your pick.
I'm going to take Sky and I'll tell you why. So let me take him first and then I'll go on my thing about that. So here's kind of what I think. Last year as a rookie, right, Sky didn't have a great year in Kansas City. And I think that I don't think that he's not talented. I think he's talented. I love Sky Moore. But I think that maybe had a little bit more to do with him just as a rookie getting, integrated into that offense. maybe the way that they're kind of using him. And I'm worried that that same fate may befall Rashee Rice, right? That maybe he doesn't have the year that everybody's hoping for him to have in an offense as elite as Kansas City. So in my mind, what I've been doing a little bit more is putting a little bit more value on Sky Moore, thinking that he's had a year under his belt. He caught that touchdown in the Super Bowl. They trusted him to go there. We've got Tony. So let's absolutely go ahead and take somebody else. I mean, one of those two guys, right? They are catching touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes. So
I think it's interesting what you said, because Andy Reid has had a history of not playing rookies much.
exactly.
And that's not necessarily a new thing.
Mhm.
But they had so many injuries last year, and he still couldn't really get on the field. So that is a little concerning. But you know what? I'm with you. I kind of switch off. I like to take all. I want exposure to all of those. I want exposure to all the Chiefs, because somebody's going to get some passes.
Right.
Somebody. I mean, a lot of these guys, if Tony stays healthy, sure. But I still don't think he's going to have a gigantic role. I think he might get a lot of, targets per route run. Like, I think he can still do a lot with a little. Now, how little? I don't know.
Right.
But I think there's going to be room for more than one guy to hit. And like I said, I mean, if we knew who it was, they'd be going earlier. I mean, at this price, I alternate. There's some guys later I'll take shots on. Now they're starting to talk up Justin Ross again. Or, Richie James, I've heard, could also do punt return. Since our friend Sky Moore, I don't think is going to have that job anymore.
Yeah, maybe he's gotten promoted.
So, they might make the team. I mean, we don't know. There's a lot of questions on that offense, but we do know that they will score points and that Patrick Mahomes is a good quarterback. So I want exposure to it as much as possible.
Exactly.
And I think that, with us not having our 5 wide receivers earlier, taking some shots on those guys that could have a huge ceiling. I mean, that's what we need. We need those types that could put up points. Yeah, they could dud out, but they could also win us a tournament. They could match. They had that chance.
Exactly. So Fantasy Football Garage wanted to say hey to you for being up in the chat. He is team Dalvin to Denver. That would be fantastic. I have almost 0 of that Denver backfield. Send him to Denver. That works for me. That doesn't ruin any of my teams. Perfectly happy with him going to Denver.
I like that. I did have a lot of Perrine, but I mean, that wouldn't break my heart. And I've been taking more Javonte, but that's more in the puppy just to kind of hedge in case. I still haven't really been taking him in BBM. I'm not sure how much I will.
So let me ask
you. Sometimes I'll do that.
So I'm going to let you get ready to do your pick, but I kind of want to just talk about Javonte a little bit because I have some real reservations about Javonte Williams. And honestly, I have completely stayed away. I mean, he tore 3 ligaments in his knee, 3, not 1 like Brees Hall, 3. So, I was listening to Stefania Bell today from ESPN, the injury guru, right? And I mean, there's so many things that have to go right for him to come back and be good this year. It just is really concerning for me. And honestly, like, I just really don't want any part of him. I think it's too big of a risk. I don't, unless I'm getting him at the last round, which I'm not, because he's definitely not going there ever. For me, it's just a little bit too risky for me. I like that you took Alec Pierce there. You want to chat about Alec Pierce and stacking him up with our boy Richardson?
So Alec Pierce is, he's a little bit of a deeper guy, and he's going to play on the outside. And I don't know if we hear about the accuracy problems with Richardson, but one thing he's good at is throwing a beautiful deep ball.
Mm-hmm.
And right where Alec Pierce runs his routes is kind of Richardson's sweet spot. So I really like taking them together. I do. Downs is a little bit of a tougher click, even though he's really fallen lately. So now if he's in the last round and I have Richardson, why not? Again, I don't mind, stacking up an offense. Also, Indy and Vegas have, I believe, a dome game. I know Vegas has several dome games in the playoff schedule. So that's another thing I like to target because, at that time, weather, and it's on you.
It is. And so I was actually going to take Mostert team 2. Thanks a lot there. But you know who I'm going to go with, and this unfortunately doesn't really stack with anything, but that doesn't
okay.
make it happen later. I'm going to take Tank Bigsby right there. I love him behind ETN. Now we've got some, potential injury stuff there. He's had some issues in the past. I really like Tank Bigsby, and I think that he is going to have a role in that offense. And especially here we are getting him in the 13th round. Sign me up all day. And he's our 4th running back anyway at this point. And I guess without taking Mostert, I guess, if Cook does end up in Miami, that kind of saves our bacon a little bit.
Oh, that's exactly who I was thinking of. I love that. We always are usually thinking the same thing.
Yeah, we are.
Without
now
even trying.
I've got a couple guys in my queue for us for a backup quarterback when it's time for
We're
it.
fine. We're fine.
Yeah, like I said, when it's time.
There's tons because we have so many backdoor stacks.
Exactly.
Like I said, we have 2 options already.
Yeah.
And then there's more. Like I said, I'm not going to rush it. I'll let it happen. I have a few other things up my sleeve depending on what happens this next pick and what we get. So
exactly. Nicholas, you are right. There is
worries.
some options later on in the draft for Mr. Tank, who apparently, word on the street is, has a very, very strong handshake. I don't know if you heard that at the oh gosh, I just forgot where I heard that recently this week. You listen to so much stuff during the week that it's hard to keep track of where everything comes from, right? It's all just floating around in your brain. So much good content out there. Wow, Deontay Hardy. Can we talk about that? Deontay Hardy in the 13th?
I take him in the 18th occasionally. I mean, I don't know. Was there a news story, or is that just,
Chat, help us out. Is there something
is that Hardy's mom's burner maybe in the draft? You know, I don't think anything other than person without a badge, possibly that's a Bills fan.
Maybe. I mean, woof. What's so do you have what his ADP was right in front of you? Because I don't have it.
I mean, it's last. It's
yeah. I mean,
he is drafted some, but there's plenty of times he's not. I mean, it's
I mean, I've taken him in round 18.
Yeah. If I have a Bill stack, I mean, and I miss on Shaquille, I kind of alternate into some of those late guys, but no, he's definitely not someone I'm taking up here, especially when there's a lot of guys with rules still on the board here.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have, I'm going to go probably receiver here. Yeah. There's a few guys I'm looking at that I think are still good.
Well,
that have really good rules, but I don't want to give too much away because I don't know who's in our draft and who's not.
I know. Well, I was just thinking, Nick put it out there about Tank having some nice correlation options.
Oh, yeah, trust me, I'll be there.
Yep. I've got some stars on our queue here. Don't talk interested. Yeah, that's true. I'm
don't worry, there's 2.
It's a theme. I just keep falling into it. I just walked right into that one. Just wide open door for me.
And there's also some options to set up some backdoor stacks if necessary, other than that as well. So we got a few things going. I'm not worried about it. I mean, there's a lot of, decent quarterbacks late. And I treat Anthony Richardson almost like an elite, because where we're taking him around that Dak and Danny, and it's a little later than Watson now. He's kind of moving up, but range, he's going to have to hit. So we're assuming he's playing all season and putting up decent numbers. So I play him a lot of times as a 2 quarterback team still. That's about where I cut it off.
Yeah.
Now, it kind of depends probably on who I take as my second for sure. But I might be a little riskier than some people, but I will do it at times. Now, we waited a while, so I may push it to 3 on this build, but if I take him and Dak together, I would keep it 2 or something, or him and Geno even, or Goff. I've done it before.
That would be fun stack. It's been a while since I had a nice Richardson stack. The last couple drafts I've done, I was in this real rough spot of being at the 8th, 9th, 10th in the draft for I don't know how many drafts. It took forever. And then finally this week I started getting 3, 4 1s. So I've been able to kind of get those elite quarterbacks there, on that 2-3 turnish.
Oh, it's on. Oh no, hold on.
Yep.
I lost my Well, that's okay. You wouldn't be too mad if it autoed on who was on.
Oh,
So I'm asked for a second.
I was gonna say he's still. Oh, Van Jefferson was also in my queue. The player that you're talking about specifically is in my queue still.
Well, the other guy, well, who I wanted there was
Yeah.
Chart, who went, excuse me,
Yes.
to
Chart.
correlate. Because,
Yeah.
but Van Jefferson also then, if we, another
Mhm.
option late is Stafford.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I thought he was still there. Did he go? He may have
Yeah,
just,
he
he just went. Okay, I
did.
just missed it.
He did just go.
Well, that's okay. We still got other
Yeah,
options. Like I
that's
said, we
totally
still, I mean, we still got that correlated game late, and
fine.
there's a few other guys. So, who, speaking of now, I don't know how you feel about it because we've heard those rumors going on with Jimmy, but he's
Mm.
now going in like the 18th round.
Yeah, I mean, you can get him for free.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, now is he? Do you think he's going to play? Do you think this is all BS? I mean,
Oof. So the stuff, I guess, with the injury, with the foot injury, and how that's all coming out now is really concerning. I mean, honestly, and you kind of have to think about, okay, if you're taking Vegas players, right? Who do you feel comfortable? Oh, yes, I'm so glad this fell to me.
I know. I was sad I didn't take him last time. I'm like, if he doesn't make it back to her, I'm going to feel bad.
That one or Mims? You thought Mims,
Mims.
right? Well, so I was gonna go with Chuba Hubbard there, and
Oh,
I'll tell you why.
that was
Because
my. Oh, I know. That was my backup for the other two.
exactly.
That
So
was a
guys,
smarter
so
play.
for those of you out there who don't have the week 17s memorized just yet, right? Yeah, correlation. We've got Tank Bigsby, Chuba Hubbard play each other in week 17. So that's what Nick was talking about with the correlation. It's got some really good options for us later. Marvin Mims went right after. I guess Blockbuster's listening to us over here, or else they just have really good taste like we do. But back to talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, that's somebody who I don't mind talking about at all. But yeah, I mean, I think it's something to be concerned about. I think it's a legitimate something to be concerned about for sure. Um, whether you want to get silly with it and think that Brady's coming back, which I can't even. I mean, the NFL scriptwriters would have to be, on top of their game if they made Brady come back at this point. But funny enough, if those of you who haven't looked up that depth chart, right? Brian Hoyer is the backup to Jimmy Garoppolo in Vegas, right? So just continuing with the Patriots West out there. Just one more peg from the New England coming on out to the desert to hang out in the Death Star over there. I don't know if you've ever seen that stadium, but it looks like the giant Death Star. Like it's wild. But
I know nothing about Star Wars, but I know there's a Star Wars reference.
I don't
right?
either. But when I actually went and
Am I right?
You are. Yeah. So I went and did a
Okay.
year that, like the year that it actually, not the year that it opened because that was during COVID, but it was the first year that they had, I actually had games out there. And I mean, it's phenomenal. It's a beautiful stadium, but it is this just giant black stadium, like right in the middle of the absolute desert. And it's crazy. All right. So, Steph, you are going to be taking this. And
I
actually,
got this. I
if
got
you'd
this.
like, if you want to
I
take the
will.
last 3 rounds, because our very
Oh,
special
sure.
guest has gotten here tonight, and I don't want to waste
Oh,
any time with him sitting in our green room. So, without
yeah.
further ado, guys, as you all know, we are going to be doing a special draft next week with the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. We have got their commissioner, the wonderful Farrell Elliott, is here joining us tonight to talk to us more about the Kentucky League and our draft next week. Farrell, how are you doing?
Good evening, I'm doing fine. It's a pleasure, and it's a pleasure to meet your co-host here tonight.
Yes.
And I'm really seeing I need a haircut. I just it really, it's coming in right now, and I'm doing, so whatever I'm doing it with a lot of hair. And whatever you two are doing, you're doing it with a lot of professionalism and a beautiful draft board here. It looks like you're having a great fun tonight. What can I tell you about playing in Kentucky?
Tell me first. So we are going to be doing a best ball / draft master draft next week. It is 28 rounds. See, we're only doing 18 right now, but 28 rounds. That is a monster draft, Farrell, right?
The monster draft is what you have. It's just like a bottle of Kentucky bourbon. We want you to drink the whole bottle, and so we want you to draft all 28 rounds. And part of that is many great leagues in fantasy football, including the FFPC, have gone to slim concepts. We could not do a slim concept where we took the defenses out of our scoring system, because I think in the KFFSC, uninitiated drafters will find that the defensive scoring is a bit different. It's a big challenge of the game. Defense is not an afterthought. And so we wanted to have defenses and kickers as part of our draft. So we stuck with 28 rounds. And you know what? If you're a really good fantasy player, when you hit that 28th round, you still got 4 guys that you want to draft. So that's
right.
You're good if you still have guys in the 28th round that you care to draft.
You still have people sitting in your queue just waiting for you to take them.
Yep.
So talk a little bit more. I want you to talk a little bit more about the defensive scoring, because that's something really unique, I think, to Kentucky.
We recognize that, when I drafted live, I started my life as a FFPC player drafting in live drafts. And you get to the 18th round and it's over. It's not over until the 20th, but in reality, the kicker and defense filled out the drafts. We felt the defense deserved a stronger spot, but we did not want to go down the course of individual defensive players. So what we did is to reward teams that actually make a defensive stand and hold opponents to fewer points. Those defenses will be rewarded with more points. A shutout will get you plus 15. But what's interesting is when you start giving up points at 23 and a half, I believe it is, we'll begin to deduct points from your score. So defense, the uninitiated drafter will start seeing defenses in Kentucky go off the board as early, especially in redraft, go off the board as early as the 13th or 14th round. Even if you sometimes understand the rules, you find that to be a little off-putting and a little bit surprising, because you've never seen anything like that before. But it makes it just another thing, just another way to develop yourself as a player, and another way to understand and compete. And that's what we want in the KFFSC. Exactly.
Farrell, you got a fan in the chat over here, Nick. Nick giving you a shout out there.
Hey, greetings, Nick.
So we're gonna, guys, remember, we're gonna be doing that on the 15th. There are still 6 spots available, so everybody run on over there and join. We're gonna put that link in the show description here tonight for you. You can also find that on our social media. We've been tweeting that out the last couple days, so make sure that if you are interested, you can join and draft with us. We're also going to be putting that together in a show form as well, so it's going to be out there for all of you guys to see as content as well. Cheryl, you guys do more than just draft matches, right? You do a lot more other fun drafts over in Kentucky.
Our main event is one of the most enjoyable live activities you'll ever play in fantasy football. We have 2 versions of it. One day in Cincinnati at our major event at Caesars Southern Indiana, which we call Being Part in Louisville, Kentucky. That'll be August 25th through 27th. Plus, you can play in the same main event online starting in July throughout early September. And it's a noted, we've grown in our 21 years. Last year we had over 700 players, and we sit amongst royalty in that one Miss Stacy Perez bested most of the field to finish with a 4th place finish last year. So congratulations, Stacy.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a full gamut of ancillary leagues that are there for you to select from, including the big payback. But our main event entry starts at $300. Our big payback league tops out at $1,000. People come and will play the entire weekend. They'll play multiple teams. You'll get enough play to get you ready for your live play and further online play, either in Vegas or wherever you do it. But we promise you that you'll have a really great time while you're in Kentucky.
That's for sure. My first foray into high stakes fantasy was in Kentucky. And the minute I walked in, I just felt like these are my people. This is my tribe. This is such a great group to hang out with and draft with. And I've just had the best time going the last few years. So I think this is my 5th year drafting with you, Farrell.
Hard to believe. Hard to believe. Time flies when you're having fun. We'll have to get Miss 57 to come up here and join us. Is that a 57? I can't imagine.
It is.
What does that number represent, dude?
Well, she is on the clock, Farrell. So hang on. She's
oh no, not yet. Sorry. Oh, 57. Oh, because my name is Stephanie Miller, and there's a lot of Stephanie Millers in the world. So it made me, and actually my birthday is May 7th. So 5-7. So that's where I came up with it.
I had an old girlfriend, Stephanie Miller, and when I saw that name, I said, what is she doing over here? Because I think she was born in 57, so she was her old girlfriend, you know. And I said, that's not her, is it? And, you know, it wasn't, you know. You can come play too, Miss Stephanie Miller.
Well, you know, we are going to go to Vegas together. Maybe we'll have to see if we can fit an extra, but I don't think it's during the same time, unfortunately.
No.
I would love to come and draft with you guys as well. That'd be so much
there
fun.
you go. So the invitation is open to you.
Exactly.
And to anyone who might be listening to this wonderful Fantasy and Frame show, which you guys do a really good job with, by the way.
Thank you.
More sign-ons and bigger audience every week. I'm thrilled to be part of it.
Farrell,
we're thrilled to have you.
Exactly. Tell everybody how, if they want to go sign up for either our draft next week or any of the other drafts, the main event, any of the other leagues going on, how can they do that?
Yeah, go to the website, kffsc.com, and look at the group of leagues available. You'll have to open an account. You register an account. It's very easy to use. You give us your information where we'll know how to communicate with you, and then you will be eligible to pick your teams. And you can pay online. You can contact me. I'll actually give out my phone number because I'm not shy. It's 502-523-5057. And yeah, we welcome a lot of new players. And what we've enjoyed about the fact is that you're going to come here and you play with passionate players that really love the game. So you bring your A game, you know, and like in any aspect of a competition, you get better by playing up to the level of your competition. We're real proud of some of the players that play here, and we think it makes you a better player to go out and win even bigger paydays. But you'll be proud of what you win here and that championship trophy.
Exactly. I mean, I've got my very first one right back here behind me.
It doesn't appear to be on display. It appears that you're celebrating the fact that you drink more Coca-Cola. So you need to get the trophy elevated and the beverages, you know, but you know, it's your room, Stacy. Go ahead and do what you need to do.
Well, you know, I mean, if I'm right, I think I might be bringing home a slightly bigger trophy after this year in August.
Well, you know, it's still not going to fit. You know, I see why you got a looking spot for it back there. So I don't know. With Stephanie's help, I think you might figure it all out.
Exactly. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much to everybody who's in the chat tonight, everybody drafting with us. Farrell, thank you so much, guys. Make sure to follow Farrell. You can follow him at KFFSC official on Twitter. Make sure to give him a follow. Go over and sign up for that draft, guys, if you will. I'd love to be drafting in there with you because the very next day is my birthday. So I want to celebrate my birthday drafting with all my friends here. So if you haven't signed up yet, you better get on over to that website and do it right now. Guys, you can follow Steph at StephMiller57. You can follow me over at Stacy_Perez83. And make sure you are hitting that subscribe button on our YouTube. And we will see you next week.